Hello, boys and ghouls, and anyone out there in internet land. Welcome to episode 7 of Film Club. Yes, Film Club, where the first rule of Film Club is talking a lot about films. Today we're going to be talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 5. Yes, part 5. It's in the title.
It's a boy!
The Dream Child from 1989. You know, it's sad we didn't get to review this, or I guess we're not so much reviewing, right? We just kind of discuss, but we were so close to doing this on the 35th anniversary of the day, but, you know.
I know, that was my
enough.
bad. I'm sorry.
It was
I
life.
canceled on that.
It's life.
Yeah, but we're
here now.
the anniversary plus 2 days. The anniversary plus 2 days. So we're close enough to the anniversary that it's kind of cool that
Yes.
it's still in there.
Yeah, and to be clear, that's when we're recording, not when you're hearing this. We're slightly in the past by the time you're hearing this now.
That's true too.
But Nightmare 5, interesting. Before we dive too much into it, we have a different director again, Stephen Hopkins. Producer Rachel Talalay.
Not talking.
Yeah, Stephen Hawking. He wouldn't do... Oh, man, my brain went really dark there. I'm not going to do it.
Sorry, I went there first.
Rachel Talalay doesn't come back to produce this one because she did 3 and 4 back to back. I guess was feeling burnt out on the series by this point. So her husband took over as producer, Rupert Harvey. Kind of funny, but she went to do a movie with Johnny Depp, Crybaby. So,
oh wow, John Waters.
So the producer of this one, and a lot of them are going to be working on, because she directs Freddy's Dead, right? Part 6. So a lot of the crew she works with on Crybaby is going to come over to Freddy's Dead. I guess we can kind of, that'll be something I can look up for the next episode to see how much that crew really came over to Nightmare 6, or as it's called, Freddy's Dead. And before we jump into this one, if anybody's listening out there, you've been enjoying, you know, hit the subscribe. We're trying to do this as often as we can, keep it going, and up the game. Been having fun talking about stuff, and hope you guys are too. Yeah, it's interesting about this movie being called, I guess not because it's called The Dream Child, but did you notice in the credits that it only goes Nightmare on Elm Street, and then it cuts to the next title card, and then it says The Dream Child. It doesn't say Part 5 in the actual...
Yeah, in the weird... You're right, in the weird writing, like the penciled in... Yeah, that's true.
Do you think it's just because they're getting a little...
Okay, we're at Part 5.
We're at Part 5.
Just,
I guess that's the rule in Hollywood, eh? Because, like, even with... I mean, I'm sure there's a Part 6 out there somewhere, right? But Halloween, the series, also changed to the next one, which was called Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, after Halloween 5, right? Friday the 13th has had Part 6, which is awesome.
I feel like I read somewhere or I heard somewhere that they feel like they're going to lose viewership and people coming to see it if they... It's almost like a Marvel thing where if they don't feel part of the club, like, oh, I haven't seen the other 5, then no newcomers are going to go see it.
I guess
that's what I heard.
That's fair enough.
I don't know where I heard that, but because a lot of people are like, oh, fuck Marvel, you know, you have to see the other huge, all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies to see the new one.
Correct.
That's why a lot of people are anti-Marvel. And I heard that that's why horror movies, like in long time movies did that, is that if they just title it Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, or if they don't put a number, then people, like, I guess dumb people are going to be like, well, I don't have to see the other 4, so I'll go see this one.
Yeah, it'll be fine. And yeah, I could 100% see that, right? Because... at the end of the day, it is a business. If they don't think you've seen the past 5 of them, like, what are the odds? Like, you just be like, yeah, 6 seems like a good part to jump into. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if they have a catchy title like The Dream Child, like, oh, that's different than Dream Master, Dream Warrior, The Dream Child. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're progressing here.
What was that? Part 2 was Freddy's Revenge, but I guess it was actually called Part 2. But
yeah, it's true. So I guess we should... jump into the movie here before we get into any like specifics or any things that stand out to each other.
Mm-hmm.
The director said that Robert Shea wanted to make Freddy scary again. Hashtag make Freddy great again. Did in your idea in this movie, like overall, your thoughts on it? Is Freddy more scary, less scary? What was your take when you watched this one, or was it just kind of on par with the last one type of deal?
It's kind of tough. Like, what irritates me about this movie is that I think that, like what you said about Robert Shea is, and again, I didn't know that he said that. I think the intro to Freddy in this movie is almost fucking amazing, and then they ruin it with the stupid little baby mutant Freddy baby that comes. But I think that when that like initial scene where he's scratching the side just like in the first one, he's scratching the middle
Yeah,
with his claw. I think, and the whole like lead up to Freddy coming into the movie, I think that's really, and I'd forgotten how fucking cool that is. But then they ruin it. They ruin it with the "It's a boy," and then like the stupid thing comes, and uh, some of the kills are kind of scary. I mean, I have a story about this movie that actually is pretty funny because I didn't watch this movie, but it was the first Nightmare movie that I tried watching when I was really, really young.
okay.
And I actually flipped. It was pretty well late at night when you're a kid. It was probably like 10. But
Yes, yeah.
I remember it was on TV and I was alone for whatever reason. My siblings weren't around. But it was I don't know if it was it was on Halloween or when it was, but it probably was close to Halloween. But either way, I saw that it was on, and I'd never seen a Nightmare on Elm Street movie before, so I kind of was like flipping the channel back and forth to this movie, Night the Dream Child, and I remember watching the scene where the first, not the first kill, the first kill's the car or the motorcycle, but uh the scene where he's force feeding the girl to death.
Oh, Greta, yeah. That scene's really
Greta,
disturbing.
yeah, Greta.
That scene's disturbing.
And to be honest, I watched that scene and I flipped it back to whatever else I was watching as a kid, and I still have this memory as a kid, and I didn't go back, man. I didn't go back. I was like, okay, this is why I'm not allowed to watch these movies.
Yeah, that scene is messed up.
I think that's the most messed up scene in the movie, and then it doesn't really match it. Because then you have the comic book, like almost like the Aha music video. You have the comic book scene, and it's just like, okay, this is getting into more of like Part 4 territory, where it's just too fantastical, too fantasy, and too like. And obviously, we talked about this 2 episodes ago for Dream Master.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Dream Warriors. And how it works in Dream Warriors, but it just gets, I don't know, it doesn't work.
Super predictable by this one. It's super predictable by this one.
Exactly.
You guy likes comic books. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly, and they hinted that early on too. The line about your comic book, the drawings, and it's just like, oh, okay, so we know how this guy's gonna die.
Yeah,
but I give a pass to the Dungeons and. Oh, so that makes sense. I give a pass to the Dungeons and Dragons kill in Dream Warriors because I think it just fits in with the characters, each having their own little niches, right? So I give a pass to that, and it works for me because I think Dream Warriors is probably my favorite, and yeah, the OG is the original. It's obviously classic, but for Part 5, it's another like what could have been. It could have been great. And I like that they introduced Freddy in a more scary way again, but then they fuck it up.
Yeah, it has the lowest body count in the whole series. Opinion. It has the lowest body count in the whole series. And then still talking.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 3 times to watch it again, and I was falling asleep again. I've been doing long hours and what have you, but like it's just such a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, it's cool. Continuing on, like what you're saying, I agree with everything about what you're saying, Freddy, and the characters in this one. Freddy, I think, in trying to make it scary again, the kind of the introduction of him is really good. I don't like the baby part. I think the effect is good. Like the, having it.
The practical effect is cool, but
It's well done effect, but I don't. Why is Freddy like a weird goblin looking child? He wasn't burnt when he was a kid, right? But I guess some people's interpretation of this is that that's supposed to be the birth of the dream Freddy and not really Freddy, and which kind of ties into how bizarre and sometimes very not straightforward the script in this movie is. And again, because this movie came out in '89, it was August 11th. I'd have to fact check what it was, but I think the last one was like October, or not October, August something teenth that Dream Master came out. So they are this is the Freddy Machine Factory, New Line Cinema, pumping these movies out, right? And the fact that there was 2 writers before the guy who has the screenwriting credit, I think, is Leslie Boehm. I'd have to check real quick here. I had the page open. I'll just take a peek real quick. But yeah, it's like you can tell the script's all over the place. Like, kind of what I took from it was that Leslie Boehm, yeah, he's the guy who gets the screenwriting credit. But there was guys before him who have a story credit. And they said a lot of the time the actor who played Mark, the comic book enthusiast of the movie, who also likes to skateboard,
Right.
who 100%, this will pay off later in the movie, folks. So, in case you haven't gleaned all the information from previous Nightmare on Elm Street films, especially the last 2, there's going to be skateboarding in comic books. Playing. And you know what, like you said, with the goofy kills from part 3 with like maybe the Wizard Master, it's just goofy enough, but it makes sense enough because, one, it's his dream power, right? That he plays Dungeons and Dragons, so he would have a good imagination in his dreams. That checks out to me.
Exactly.
And also Freddy taunting him in the hallway with the fucking wheelchair, because that's his real life issue, right?
That's a good point. That makes it even,
so
that's
it is dark.
in real life he can't walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my dreams, I'm powerful. In my dreams, I'm the Wizard Master, and I can stand. And the shit, it was incredible. And then the kid dies, and you're like, holy shit, this is dark, right? Because you almost think they're not going to do this. But in this movie, you kind of we know the formula at this point, and this has the lowest body count in the series. And just talking about going back to Freddy's intro, I really liked how they had Robert Englund as Robert Englund. Well, not as Robert Englund, but he's in the jump scare in the bedroom.
Yes.
And then also he's one of the inmates, so they give him a little screen time.
It turns his head to the camera, and like that, I did like that as well. That was a cool little nod.
Yeah, for the people who like films or like these movies, that was a nice little tip of the hat. That would actually was cool. The carriage, the haunted baby carriage for the intro of Freddy, where it's kind of pushing itself, and just before Alice gets whatever it is turned into Amanda Kruger, or one point she's an observer in the room, and that's where the birth of Freddy happens. Just before that happens, when she's going up the stairwell, that carriage is kind of sitting there, and it's like the shot lasts 2 seconds, but Freddy's like claw and silhouette shadow kind of fall off the wall, as if he's like,
that was cool too. That was very cool
trying to be birthed out of the thing. Like, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't it's not great, because I think like the bringing him back because she has a child inside of her is such a weak way to just, it's his dreams that are bringing him back. No, he was defeated by the Dream Master, folks. But like, I know these stories are not super well thought out, right? They're just pump them out there. So I give him the entertainment's sake, but it was a cool shot of him kind of like, it almost looked like the silhouette was going into the carriage, I think. But he was like it was rising out, I'm assuming, like creeping up behind her. But then, of course, you have the baby Freddy being birthed. And that scene is pretty grandiose, like having the whole thing come out of the ground. It almost felt like I don't want to say it, but it felt like almost like a comic book, right? Like the villain, the big villains being, and she's, no, not again. And it almost feels like this is going to be epic, and then where the rest of the movie goes is just kind of underwhelming. I mean, we can,
It's kind of a snooze fest. Yeah.
yeah, like the characters who show up in this movie. Okay, let me finish with the intro of Freddy because yeah, you already said the it's a boy line, and before he puts his glove on, they almost show like the makeup of the his burned hand looking really fresh again, and you almost see half of his arm before he puts the glove on. But what's with the long arm of the law of Fred Krueger, who's like, you notice the whole first scene, he's got like the ghoul hand. Like he's got his normal glove hand, but his other arm, it's like they're using a prosthetic or something to try and. It's stupidly long. It looks stupid, and then it's like not really consistent throughout the movie. I was like, why are they doing this? And I guess that's just a nitpick of mine, but to me, this movie.
No, I agree. Like
his left arm in that scene is like, what were they doing?
Yeah, no, the whole movie is just a wasted opportunity in my mind. Like, part two, we talked about, they didn't have very much time. They were sitting on this baby.
Yes, they had to get it out.
This gold mine that they had to get out, and they knew that they had a gold mine. But they still tried something new, and I think that's why, like, part two, I like more than this one, even.
Yeah.
And I even said I think I like part two more than four because I don't know. This just seemed like a wasted opportunity because they started out this leading into this with part four with continuing the Tina's story and everything.
Yeah.
And I think it would be cool. I think it would be cool to have her friends and I guess her new group of friends that haven't been murdered, all of a sudden being murdered by Freddy again, and they don't know why, and it's because
they don't believe her. That's got to be the most annoying part of this movie.
There was a lot that they could have worked with here. They could have worked with a lot, and they just made this assembly line Freddy movie, like you were saying before, like just this. And we know this is going to make back its budget and then some. We know it's going to make that because I think four was maybe the most financially successful at the time. I don't know. Maybe
it was
3, but
it made even more.
Was it 4?
3 because everyone was remembering how good 3 was, right? And 4 came out just the next year. And that's
usually the case. That's usually the case because I know Goldfinger, which is probably Sean Connery's best James Bond movie. Thunderball was the biggest James Bond movie for Sean Connery at the time because everyone saw Goldfinger, which was the third in the series again, which is kind of funny. But everyone saw and loved Goldfinger. And then, Thunderball and Thunderball's great too. I'm getting off topic here, but Thunderball made the most that any Bond movie had ever made because everyone was just riding on the high of going to see Goldfinger and loving Goldfinger. So everyone wanted to see the next one, which was Thunderball. And I feel like that was with Nightmare on Elm Street, where they saw the Dream Warriors and they thought that was fucking great.
Yep.
So then the Dream Master comes out and everyone goes to see it. So now they think, well, obviously now we know that was part 4. Now part 5, we're going to continue it with the Dream Child, which is a cool title, I have to admit. And I would be pumped to see this movie. I would have been pumped to see this movie when it came out. But
knowing what we got now,
they botched it. Thunderball was actually great.
Going back to James Bond. Always walks. Go full into Tom Jones.
Going back. Yeah, I love that.
It's a good song.
Going back to
like that one.
And Weird Al did Spy Hard in a similar with Leslie Nielsen. He did basically a parody of Thunderball as Spy Hard. But anyway, we're getting off topic, and it's my fault. Sorry, but yes, part 5 I would have been pumped for because of the title. They had something new. They could have made it still great. They could have made a Thunderball. They could have made a really good movie, and they didn't.
Yeah, they took what the formula was. They didn't change a freaking thing about it. And at this point, we're playing off of what made Dream Warrior so good. And that's 2 years old at this point, and it's already starting to be played out. I think you can see that in this movie.
Yeah, at least have some new characters that I actually care about, man. Like, come on, like I just don't. These characters aren't memorable. They're not cool. Like they're not. I don't care about them. I don't care about them. So just go ahead, kill them, Freddy, and like let's get this 90-minute chore over with. Like,
Yeah, you don't
like
really
a
feel.
movie by any means.
No, it's like competently done. I know the like
Absolutely,
Stephen
but
Hopkins did Predator 2, which I think is freaking awesome.
oh really?
Yeah, he directed
Interesting. I
Predator
didn't
2,
realize that. Okay,
which I really like.
that's
I
that
think
gets
it's
a lot of shit
underrated.
on. I think Predator 2 is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Predator 2 is absolutely underrated.
maybe that's one we should talk about somewhere down the line. That's kind of horror, and we did Predator 1 already.
And
Don't know
we
if
already did Predator
you
1.
got
And we
anybody out
should
there
do
listening.
Predator.
You can go check that one out. But I think Predator 2 is underrated. But yeah, Stephen Hopkins did
It's
that one.
super underrated.
And what? I guess we could talk about the few technical aspects of the movie. We were talking about Freddy, and kind of, I thought his revival is really grandiose in this film, and it's, fantastical. But his makeup is quite awful in this movie. I know they talked about how they changed the makeup application, and I think it's primarily due to the fact that Robert Englund is getting burnt out of playing Freddy Krueger for doing like at this.
Burnt out,
He's
unintended.
yeah. Again, but I think we did that one before. We can't even do a ding sound at that. But I mean, there's no better. I think it's the proper expression, right? Like he did 3, he did 4, he did 5, and as he was doing 4 and 5, I think they were concurrently shooting the series. And
oh right, yeah, we should do that. We should do a mini one for that.
We will. We'll do
Nightmares.
We'll do a short one for the first however many episodes are on the collection here, so we can make sure we watch the same thing together.
Right.
His makeup in this movie, I think, looks pretty rotten. Like you can tell,
it does.
His
really
face
does.
makeup, it looks just latexy. It looks,
fast.
yeah,
Half-assed, yeah.
truly. Like I said before, the opening scene, the first time you see Freddy, he's got that stupid freaking arm, and I'm not letting go. Anybody out there who's not bothered by that, I will go to war with you, okay? For some reason, yeah, for me, like how Freddy looks, especially because he's especially when I was a kid, right? Like, I'm a grown man now. I don't actually go to war over these things, believe it or not. But as a child, that meant a lot to me. I remember seeing it and I go, why the hell does he look so stupid? Like, at least Dream Warriors, Freddy 2, he looked a bit different, the makeup. And each one's had slightly different looks, right? I think 3 and 4 are fairly consistent. And then this one is just, what am I looking at here? It looks latexy. And then you have him doing a lot of freaking one-liners in this movie, man. It's getting to the point where, want to suck face, he still kills the girl with asthma. How many lines does he drop in this movie before he even stabs somebody? We've got the whole scene when he's on the motorbike, which I personally think is a pretty gnarly kill. It's pretty.
It is.
It's pretty gnarly.
I'd actually forgotten about that.
And it's I know they edited a lot of it out. The MPAA was giving them a lot of grief over that scene because when stuff was stabbing him, they had a prosthetic that would actually go under his skin. So they did it in reverse photography, so it was even gnarlier than what we ended up seeing. And same with the Greta kill, actually. He starts feeding her to herself, I guess. And it goes on a bit longer.
It actually made me sick, when I was a kid. I had to turn it off, and I didn't go back. Yeah, so that scene alone, they're even in part 4 with the bug scene.
Yeah, the bug scene's
there's
gross.
Still... And that scene I think the feeding herself, that's messed up. So there are some moments in this like that, and the motorcycle, but
I thought the comic book kill was actually pretty inventive in the sense that when he's a cutout standing there, but again, the line told you comic books was bad for you, and the amount of shit he says to Dan.
It's come on, man.
Yeah, don't dream and drive. And what was the other one? He's bad year, Dan. And he's just sitting in the truck with Fred Krueger's just sitting in the truck with him and pours the bad bottle of wine on his arm and rips his own arm off. And he hasn't done a thing yet. And you're just this has come so far from even Freddy of Part 3. I'm not even going to say the original, right? It's like,
Oh yeah.
it's come so far. And at this point, I'm like, they're taking a shot with doing something, but, you know, I guess that's my big problem with Freddy in this movie. Obviously, Robert Englund is a peach still playing Freddy, but I don't find that he's scarier in this one. I think this is another.
No, I would say if you wanted him to, like, if you're going from 4 to 5 and you're saying, oh, he needs to be scary again, it's just like, oh well, they really, other than the intro of the scratching the metal,
yeah,
you're not really trying to make him scarier with all these one-liners, like with these
it's
action hero almost kill lines, and yeah, so
that's how they were treating him, right? It was like he's the horror equivalent of Stallone in like Cobra, or like Arnold in
anything.
I was thinking Commando primarily because he has some little
Probably Commando. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, immediately. I immediately thought of my friend. He's dead tired.
Yeah, that's pretty much what Freddy's doing, and like, okay, I understand. In this time in the 80s, this was, a thing going around, but it doesn't work as well when it's a horror villain, especially one that even if we do kind of root for, we still shouldn't be. I don't know. I think laughing with in that sense. Like, I still liked my Freddy with like a touch of terror, if you will, as opposed to just being
like welcome to Primetime Pit. Welcome to Primetime Bitch is that's a one-liner, and it's kind of funny, but like that scene is still kind of like, oh, that sucks that she died that way. This girl wanted to be
it's cruel
television star. It's cruel. And then like just all the lines in this one, and even in part 4, it's kind of like, no, this is the gimmick, so we have to have him say something every time he kills someone, like, oh, I told you comic books are bad for you. And even like, I feel like they could, if he had not said anything during the wanna suck face kill in part 4, I feel like that would have been so much more terrifying, because that is a really terrifying kill, like the way that her it cuts to her like coughing, and then
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's just, and then they continue that into this one with part 5, with the only kill that, probably because it scarred me as a kid, I think is with Greta. But
yeah, it's got a very that kill with Greta has a very I hate to say it because it's obvious, but like dream-like, silly, playful, but it almost does actually kind of feel like a nightmare.
Could be like a nightmare, which was
because everybody's
the original intention of Wes Craven, for God's sakes.
So there is some good moments in this thing, and I think a lot of the bad stuff just kind of is par for the course at this point. It's kind of the stuff we complained about with part 4. Part 4 didn't really even have a story, though, right? It's just the Dream Warriors are back. Alice is getting all of the powers, and Freddy is defeated. It's just pretty much a hero's journey slasher film, right? There's no underlying. I wouldn't say there's like as many underlying motifs or like societal commentary as in like Dream Warriors. You can talk about that movie till the cows come home. In this movie,
right, Dream
Child, obviously we know it's dealing with having a child and possibly schmishmortion, and I think a couple of those scenes were a nice touch in this film, but ultimately they went nowhere.
Yep. It promises something bigger, and then it just lets you down.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I tried. I watched the making of and all the behind the scenes stuff I could find for this movie, and I still don't. I listened to the writers talk about it. I'm still not even really sure what Freddy's trying to do by the end of this movie. Like, he's collecting souls, and in one scene, they do the sonogram or whatever with her stomach, and they look at the baby on the inside. Because in case you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, 1989, 35 years ago, we're telling you what happened. But that's how the discussion's going, so deal with it. Love you. But Alice is pregnant with Dan's baby. And that's where Freddy is coming through the dreams in this one. That's how he comes back. It's not a dog pissing fire this time. So it's new life. So maybe the subconscious of Alice went into Dan's baby boy. In this case, his name is Jacob. He is born by the end of the film. What I think the movie is trying to do is Freddy's killing her friends to take control of... Because he's already rebirthed himself at the beginning of the movie, right? Like the dream child. Freddy is alive again. He births himself into existence. So I'm trying to tie it into, like, in my brain, I'm just trying to make this make sense, right? It becomes so convoluted because Alice is pregnant, and it says, like, you know, the first scene is Dan is killed because I think they say that the kid brings him into the dream, or it's bringing her into the dream. But, like, the first scene, she clearly is walking through the park, right? And that's where we're first introduced to the gothic scenery, and she has like a daydream, and then the coworker, because she still works at the Craven, her coworker's like, you're several hours late for work, and she just, you know, chews her ass out. So you're like, okay, how did she fall asleep walking across the park? The kid's bringing her into these dreams. So I guess the kid's responsible for reviving Freddy, and the kid is saying, soul food for my boy, after he kills the other people. So that, you know, I'm not going to get into the weeds about the, you know, the revival of a fictional boogeyman in a slasher series, but I'm just, you know, I care about these films, so it's I don't want to say trying to be too picky on it, but even when I saw this movie as a kid, I was like, this is some silly shit. Like, yeah, some, like you said, some of the visuals and some of the concepts and things are interesting and well done. Like, a lot of the effects in this movie are pretty darn cool. But
well, I like what you said about, like, what is Freddy trying to do here, and I like that. I was just thinking about this. Like, I never thought of it. Like, part 2 is called Freddy's Revenge, and it's like, well, the original OG Nightmare on Elm Street, that he was getting revenge on the.
He's on it. It's a reoccurring motif with these guys.
By this point, it's just like, yeah, what the fuck is he trying to do? And yeah,
does he want her to birth a demon Freddy baby? Because the director Stephen Hopkins had a joke about that. He's like, well, I guess the movie's pro-abortion then, right? Because the kid's gonna be Freddy Krueger, and he kind of laughed, right? It was just a dark anecdote, but I mean, I think that's what Sarah Risher said too, right? She was one of the ones who worked on a lot of these in a higher up capacity, and she said that, like, she sometimes blames herself for why this movie didn't do as well as the others, because it's about a Freddy baby, and, like, a lot of the, you know what, they were kind of aiming, I guess, in the marketing of it, is like a lot of the people who watched the originals were teenagers, and now having a baby could be the worst thing in their life, like having a nightmare. This is the nightmare. This is my nightmare, right? I got knocked up by so and so, and I'm 22, and I'm, you know. But at the same time, I don't think the average audience member wanted to go to a Freddy film to be lectured about this stuff. They wanted to go to have a good time. Probably have a laugh and a couple scares, right? A little fun hour and a half romp, if you will. So
I know years ago, and this is switching series, but I know, yeah, like I had a coworker, older guy, God, he's probably in his 50s, late 50s, but he would have been a kid when these movies came out, and he would have been a kid when obviously the Friday the 13th movies came out, and he said that him and his friend snuck into, God, what is the Friday the 13th movie with the sleeping bag, sorry.
Oh, when he hits the girl, he beats her with a sleeping bag, you mean? Like, he picks her in the sleeping bag and smashes her against a tree? That's part 7.
Part 7? Okay, yeah. That makes sense. So, yeah, he just said he remembered they snuck in, him and his buddy snuck in, and they were freaking howling at that scene.
Part 7 is... yeah, that's the one where... I'm pretty sure it's part 7. Somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, like you as when you're a teen, you're going to these movies not to be, like you said, not to be lectured. You're going to these movies for just gnarly deaths and
This isn't
you
film
know, like
school, right? This isn't
exactly like
professors not telling you stuff about movies that we all watch and
yeah, yeah. Tell me what you really think. Yeah,
yeah.
no,
The Krueger movies. I mean, at least the
but
series in
I
general.
just
Yeah,
feel like yeah, one, two, and three I like. I would give them thumbs up. Um, and then I just think four and five they could have been good, and five they screwed the pooch.
yeah. The music in this movie, Jay Ferguson does it. The only thing I
It's
could
good.
think of is the gothic stuff is cool.
Hmm.
When she
Yeah.
falls asleep the first time when she's walking through the park to go to work, the gong reminded me of either shitting myself from too much Taco Bell or the Undertaker's theme song because I was a huge
Yes, it reminded
wrestling
me
guy.
of the Under.
You know, because
It 100% reminded me of the Undertaker as well.
I think it opens with a gong, right? Like you see the
Yeah,
kids,
it
and
does.
then it starts with a gong. You're like, oh, this is getting gothic. But my question too, to not to get too much on a tangent here, but we are just kind of spitballing about. We've talked about Freddy, we've talked about the kills, we talked about the story in general. How I don't know, it still doesn't seem to make much sense. The music, it's good. I liked it. I even liked the music
I did.
when
Did
he's
quite
fighting
like.
him
I
in
enjoyed
the
it.
when Mark's having his dream there, and he's in a warehouse, and it has like the more upbeat kind of chase music. I was like, oh, okay. It
Hmm.
was do, 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 do. I was like, sweet man, and it's kind of nightmarish too because it's like he's coming for you, right? He's in the dream. Is
Yeah, I
you know
quite
the
enjoyed the
the
music.
the chase is on. But yeah, I guess to close thoughts on the story of this movie, Freddy's coming out. They also said that he hides within Alice. So I don't understand if he needed the boy. Why did he need the baby? Because that's what her unborn child says to her in a dream. She says something along the lines of, "He hides inside you." Unless this is like some, deep.
Talking about himself. I don't know.
Maybe it's that, or maybe it's like just a deep reading on it. He's in all of our subconscious, and that's why we can't defeat him, right? Because in the later movies, they Nancy was taking it Dream Warriors, but there's kids in Freddy vs. Jason that are taking a drug that suppresses their dreams. So the only way you
Hmm.
can really defeat Freddy is to forget about him. Then he's powerless, which is something that they bring up kind of in later movies, right? In these ones, it's just we defeated him with putting holy water. I still think that's the best way he's defeated. This movie makes how he's defeated makes no sense.
No, not at all. Like, yeah, I watched this movie in three parts, and yeah, I remember finally finishing it last night. I just thought, oh my god,
The set pieces they look good, like but
they
they
do,
don't
they
they
do.
don't tie together. They don't tie together like the ending of the
No,
movie. It's like
no, they don't.
the bicycle kill scene. It's really like splatterpunk and gruesome. Obviously the Greta kill scene, gnarly.
First two are good, and then for me, after the first two, it just gets
Super Freddy is one of the stupider things I think in the series.
definitely.
I don't like Super Freddy. And there's the only real reason behind that is I don't think it was necessary. That could have been a completely different and even more creative version. Because I think this is the part where that's what makes. I'm trying to focus in on this. If it doesn't make sense, just tell me and I'll I'll run away. But like we said with Dream Wars, how that one's goofy, right? We have like two nowadays which can be intersecting mediums, which could be comic books and D&D, right? You have storytelling, you have animated stuff. We have Dungeons and Dragons movies now. Comic books at the time in this one. Being defeated by the, Giga Freddy is a comic booky thing, but I think that would be like how the original script for Dream Warriors tried to kill the Wizard Master, which was like, he's becoming a dragon, and no, I'm becoming a lizard with ice eyes or some bullshit. You know what I mean? It's like in this,
I do.
I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
the kill with Freddy could have been a lot more interesting, dark, and more cruel. Like cruel, not cool. Like, um, yeah, I thought it. There's
Well,
scenes.
that's what I think what makes the kills from the earlier films not cool is that gorehounds, I guess, want cool kills, and cool kills are more make the movie more scary.
Yeah,
Cruel, not cool. Cruel, not cool.
I mean, I do like some cruel in my movies. I'm not that cruel in real life. I
That's
have
and
I have
that
a
being
cat and a
said,
tortoise.
yeah, I don't like torture porn. Like I'm not a big. I've been trying to get through the Saw movies. I do like
Special
the
Agent Peter Strong.
concept of
Oh, not him.
what's that?
It was just a dumb
Tony
joke.
Wahlberg.
No, the other guy. You know the one from the Gilmore Girls, the guy who gets crushed between the walls in part 5. That one. That one's
See, I've only seen the first two Saw
Scotty P,
movies.
man. Scotty P. He
Well,
showed
and then I
he.
saw the new one that came out last year or the year before. I saw that one, and it was good.
Yeah,
There are certain things about the Saw movies I like, and they are very torture porny, and I don't need cruel kills. Like I don't I'm not a gorehound in that sense either, but I don't want cool kills in the sense that like I'm going to just see he killed him in that way. Like Freddy did it in that way, and he had that one liner. It's like I'm going to see horror movies to be scared. I'm going to see horror movies to be shocked or whatever. So
yeah. I
yeah,
agree.
I have a certain threshold, but like with Dream Child, it's just like, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be depraved, right? Like some if I'm in a movie for something depraved, that's one thing. But like this is like I think it's why Chuck Russell said it after when he was talking about, because he's the one who directed Dream Warriors. He said it was always a tough formula to get right following Dream Warriors, and I think this is an example of them not getting it right, because you have the fantastical elements, but you don't have darker payoffs. And like I said, it doesn't need to be cruel, but we are watching a horror movie, and I don't go to a Freddy movie to just laugh my ass off. I still like to, you have an occasional laugh or a moment of relief, and
Right.
and you're also still have a good story and some scares along the way. And to me, that's
Yeah,
why
exactly.
one and 3 and 2 at least has a good story where maybe the movie is not, it's kind of goofy in a lot of times, but this movie,
Mm-hmm.
like 5 is freaking goofy as well, man. When Shred Krueger,
Two
he's,
is better than five. Two is better than five.
yeah, Shred Krueger there on the skateboard, fucking flying around, like the visuals of it are ludicrous. Like, how can I don't not see how it correlates when the director said Robert Shea wanted it to be more scary, and we go, okay, Freddy Krueger's gonna skateboard at the guy. What in the fuck? Do you know what I mean? It's like the visual of that scene is
Yeah, no, I do,
absolutely
and
stupid.
it makes you think. It makes you think. Spoiler alert for our next episode, but it makes you think of like, what did they say to Robert Shea when they said, "Oh, part 6, we're gonna have him be on a broomstick."
I'll get you, my
How did you
pretty, and your little soul too.
how did you have these conversations? Like how did these conversations go with Robert Shea if he asked for a more scary Freddy and you have him on skateboard? And yeah, it's such a wasted sequel.
Yeah, they could have.
Sequels sequels get shit on all the time, and a lot of them are, yes, by part 5 these are clearly just moneymakers because they know people are just going to see these
These are
movies
some cash
for the most
cows.
part.
Yep.
Exactly. But what I appreciate, what I want, and I think this is a testament going back to Marvel, is that at least put some thought into these movies and try to don't try to pander to your audience, and don't try to just push out this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this movie is shit. I don't think this movie is shit. I gave it a
There's
two and a
some
half.
there's
I
some
think.
shitty stuff
And
in it though. With stuff that could
there
have been, like
is,
you said, so
and
much better.
there's promise to it. There's promise to it, but I just Yeah, it could have been so much better. The Dream Child, even the poster is very cool. There's the poster of Freddy with the carriage,
That carriage got a lot of
and
use, eh? They brought that in a couple times. That must have cost them a lot of money.
hmm
They kept using
hmm
that thing over and over again. I think it's even in a music video. They kept bringing that thing back.
from a design point of view, it is pretty cool, and I think that they had something here that they could have made a really good sequel. But again, they didn't really care. I don't think they really cared in that sense because yeah, it was just more money to be made.
Yeah, if the movies are cash cows, this one was yielding a lot less milk than the others, let's just say. Because Robert Shea, even, after this one, I think part of the reason, and I'll do some research on it, so we'll have some solid answers as opposed to just pondering and posturing about this, but thinking about the next one and all the ridiculous shit that happens in that one compared to this, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the marketing of that movie as well, because the whole thing was marketed as this is the last one. It's in the title, so
There you go. Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare.
yeah,
Yep.
it's more self-destructive. So I think that may have something to do with allowing them to go down that path. But in this one, saying it's scary again, and then we want to make it scary again, and it was still a success, right? It just wasn't as big as the other ones.
Yeah.
It still made a good amount of money. It just financially probably I mean, just a slight business looking at it from a business perspective. It's going downhill. So it's time to pull the parachute, right? We're not just going to make another one and we're going to lose a shit ton of money. So they marketed the next one as this is it. And I think that's a super smart move because then we knew it wasn't it, right?
Well, Wes wouldn't have that, which is awesome because Wes was like, okay, guys, no. We're not finishing this on that. So.
On that note, yeah. A few more things I guess we can talk about this movie. The character vibe. Why didn't Yvonne die? The girl who was swimming. She was kind of a bitch. Thoughts?
Yeah, right?
Okay, like we were talking about, this movie's formulaic, and maybe it's just we're getting a little grumpy here because we've seen so many of these fairly close proximity to each other. But by this point in the series, if you have a group of friends, and every single one of your friends, night after night, there's one less of you, and you're the person in the group who says something to the effect of, "You're crazy, they just choked on a pretzel. All 9 of our friends," then you're a dick or you're a bitch. This is the stupidest thing in this movie to me. Because we were complaining about how the kills weren't very good and there weren't many of them, and I'm not a gorehound either.
Yeah.
But when they happen in this movie, it feels like nothing matters. Oh, one died. Next scene. And then the character would go, "Hey, no, they just died. That's okay, brother." In the last movie, how long ago did Dream Master take place in this world? Literally, these kids would know, of Alice's brother died in the last movie. You don't think these characters would be cognizant of all their friends dying, and now all of a sudden it's happening again? But Yvonne is just gonna say you're crazy. It doesn't matter. Nope, not true.
Pretzel.
Yeah. He was sitting drinking water, and a 747 just landed on him. Yvonne? No, I don't believe it. It's Fred Krueger. No. Yeah, her character was... and I don't think it's entirely the actress's fault. I think it's the story's fault, because her character's clearly just...
Yeah, and script, of course. Yeah, the dialogue in this movie sometimes was just like with Part 4. And again, I get it. It's a Freddy Nightmare on Elm Street sequel, so I'm not expecting Tarantino or Coen Brothers like dialogue, but I just still want the characters to be at least likable, Dream Warriors.
That's what Dream Warriors did so good, right?
Right?
You cared about them. You didn't want to see them die.
Characters in Dream.
So it is sad.
I want to see the characters in Dream. Yeah, it was so sad.
And I'm still pissed about Kincaid going to Part 4.
Oh, yeah. See, imagine having like even a character like Kincaid survive part 4 and then die in this one in Dreamchild. Like, was it who's the and I should know this because we've been talking about these movies. Who's the mute from Dream Warriors
Oh, Joey.
who also survived?
Joey.
Yeah, I almost said that. Um, imagine having one of them die in part 4, not right away, but then one of them survive, like Kincaid or Joey, and then have them die in part 5. And again, like this gets into the legacy characters of I'm talking about like the new Scream movies, but it is
I know what
clever.
you're
Like,
saying.
it is a
Yeah.
clever way. It is a clever way to do things where you actually care about like I guess that is for fans of the series. Like they're thinking, oh yeah, new people aren't going to know who the fuck Kincaid is from
Yeah.
2 movies ago, but
It's part 5. Yeah. Or
yeah,
it would be cool. Honestly, I think that would have been a lot more creative, right? Because when Freddy finally gets them, it
exactly.
would be actually be impactful, and you're like, oh
It
damn.
would be, and I think that's why that now we're in our 5th movie. So at this point, other than Tina, who was again not Patricia Arquette, um, it just feels like a different movie from Dream
Oh,
Warriors.
you mean Alice? You mean Alice?
Sorry, Alice,
Yeah.
Alice.
I know.
Oh
I
yeah,
always
God,
get
what
the
am I saying?
characters messed up too. I always get it messed up too.
Yeah. Oh my God.
There's so many of
But
them. It's all a mess up in there right now about these
and that's
films.
what I mean. Like just just
They're so
I've never
intertwined
liked.
too, right? They're so intertwined.
Yeah.
These 3 movies have some of the characters, like some of the characters from part 3 and part 4, some of the characters from part 4 and part 5. It's kind of cool, but it kind of, when we're talking about them sometimes, it's like, oh my god, it becomes a little bit of a mess in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought, yeah, like that part where I'm not going back to the Yvonne hate train, but when the characters are dying in this movie, it just feels like the movie doesn't know where it's going in between those scenes. Like, the character dies, and the next scene happens, and everybody says, no, it's not Fred Krueger. 5 or 10 minutes go on, we have a little bit more development. Another character dies.
Right.
It's not Fred Krueger. Another 10 minutes, character dies. It is Fred Krueger, I guess, after all. And
like
who could have thought it?
Been through this part 1.
Who would have thunk? And then finally,
Yeah.
why they don't kill her? Why did they don't kill Yvonne at the end of it is baffling to me. But I'm not saying I think her character needed to die there. Like, I hate her that much. It was just one of those things where the movie had a low body count. You could have psyched us out with a character who we thought was going to survive. You know what I mean? And then killed her near the end.
I totally agree.
But Freddy, like the yeah, I think it kind of just goes back to this movie. Like, when I was a kid and I saw it for the first time, I thought Mark might survive because he goes into a dream once and doesn't get killed, right? So that's almost something they... I guess they're going to call that suspense because they have so few kills in this movie. We don't see Freddy a lot until he's just killing them, pretty much. So having a scene where he just went to the house and Alice draws the thing and then just jumps in the dream, because that's pretty much the only time she has any of the dream powers, right? In this movie. I don't think she... like, she can still... She doesn't really do kung fu. She doesn't have any of the powers or any of the things that happened from the last movie, it seems, other than that one scene where she draws Alice and then she goes into the dream after Mark to save him in Freddy's world, right? And she goes into the Freddy house, and then he's kind of falling down those suggestive tubes that we see throughout the film where characters linger above in dubious ways,
Yeah.
in cruel and unusual ways. But I thought he was going to survive, and then he just died. So I was like, yeah, it's weird that she survives this movie too. And then none of them believing, like, at least when Kincaid died in part 4, everybody knew shit was up. So I thought that was kind of cool, thinking back about it compared to this movie where everybody's just in fucking disbelief. And the only kind of like reference we even have to something happening from the last movie, who even acknowledges anybody's death from the last movie, because certainly the kids don't, but Alice's dad says when he finds out she's pregnant, he has that one line. He goes like, yeah, it'd be nice to have a boy. It'd be nice to hear a boy playing around in the house again. Which it's like, just for the fans who know, by the way, her brother died. So he thinks it'd be nice to have a boy around the house again. Nice little, one of the nicer, more subtle
little.
And also, that was a nice little thing, too. One good thing I'll say about the story is I liked that his character actually turned it around. Because we know he was a booze barn in part 4, right? That's his introduction. Right. That's him presented throughout the movie. Even at the beginning of this one, you think that character is going to, because the Nightmare on Elm Street films are pretty nihilistic in some sense of, like, the youth versus the older generation, the old guard, right? Something the kids know, but the parents don't. And this is nice to see that a character who is older, while the parents are usually either evil, misunderstanding, or in some ways just not caring about their kids in these films, we finally have a character who does show up to the graduation and is no longer just slugging, and he cares, and he's actually being supported. He's the one who says, no, she's going to keep the kid, when the now deceased Dan character, Danny boy, his parents show up and they pretty much say they want to adopt the kid, and Alice's dad says, the fuck you are, get out of my house type shit, right? Like, he stands up for her, which I thought is like, you don't really see that in these movies. The parents are either not there,
that's true.
Or they don't care, true. Or they're raging alcoholics. So it was kind of like
one of the Paxton in the original, and
how he doesn't acknowledge his failure, and he's a booze barn by part 3.
Who's down in the part 3, yeah.
Because he's literally drinking a beer and having a shot in Little Nemo's bar, right? And Neil has to strong arm him just to even get his ass out there. So.
Right.
So this was a cool character touch, I thought. And they did it in a subtle and not too, cheesy way. They didn't hit you with the big synth, Saved by the Bell type shit. Oh, he's there for it now, and, feel good. It was just, no. They gave us the fake expectation, right? Of when she's saying it to herself, thanks, Dad, all this stuff. I don't know. That scene, for some reason, sticking out to me this time a lot, because I thought about all the other characters, and it's the mother, the fathers, the parents from part 2, parents from part 3 don't exist, apart from Kristen's mother, who is an outright bitch. A lovely actress, I'm sure. Drunk. Yeah, and she's a bitch. She's drunk, and she's out inviting men over to the house. Where's the bourbon, bitch? And then in part 4, you don't really you have the Kristen mother again, and he's the only other real parent character we really get to know about the Elm Street kids. So it was.
No, that's true. I didn't think about that. So you're right. You are right there.
And that's I think that's honestly one of the nicer things I like about it. That's sad to say that out of all the things in the movie, I thought that character and story aspect was one of the more low key, but also refreshing. It was a little different, right? Because we'd only seen evil, non-caring, not their parents, and then this guy actually had a slight character arc over two movies, and I like that. What else? What else about this one? You got anything you want to take to bat? I have a few things. I think I've blown through most of my notes here. I think the finale of the movie, we spoke about how it's kind of a goofy ending, but the set design is pretty cool. It's like the MC Escher. The set
design is very cool, and actually, funny enough, I hate to compare this, but it kind of reminded me of a little bit of New Nightmare.
Oh, you mean the gothic underworld type deal?
Yes, and with just because it's her kid at the end, right?
Yes, yeah. She's chasing the kid. So, Freddy's chasing the kid.
Exactly. So I was reminded of how much I want to rewatch that movie and how much I wanted this movie to end.
Yeah, this scene does it. It's
No, like it honestly did remind me of that, with the kid at the end and everything. I just was thinking, oh yeah, this is kind of like what Wes gets right in New Nightmare with the gothic and just the sets and everything.
yeah, I would agree that having like that be almost like the devil's lair type of deal. Like this is interesting too
Right. Yeah,
visually.
exactly.
This one's interesting too, and I think I read some people online say that it's supposed to. I don't see it. I watched it and I was trying to pay attention, and a couple of times I slow mode it, but some people said that because it's like that world where it's like MC Escher, all the stairs are going different ways, and it's kind of the connective tissue of the dream world. Like that's where Freddy goes through dreams. But I think that's just interpretive. Like I don't see that, to be honest.
No, I didn't see that for sure.
I think it was just one of those messed up dreamscapes that Freddy was having some fun with, right? He's chasing, and he likes the chase, right? And that's kind of the game for him. I didn't really see this as I'm going to run up these stairs to go to Kincaid's dream, and then I'm going to run over there to go over. No, I don't see that. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it's cool that people have different reasons.
I honestly, I don't like it. There's some things that you brought because again, you're the one that does the research, and you bring up the things, and I go, oh, cool, I never thought of that, or and that's part of the reason I like not doing my own research for these movies. Like I obviously rewatch them and everything, but now you telling me that and like that interpretation that you read online, I'm just like, no, I
Some
didn't
people,
see that, and
yeah.
I didn't think about that, and that doesn't be like, oh, I never thought of that. It's kind of like a nah, no.
I don't see it. I mean, I'm not saying whoever said it is stupid or something. There's always theories out there. But if anybody out there believes that,
look at me saying about Robert Englund looking like
oh yeah, like Neil, like Craig Wasson.
Craig Wasson, and someone said Bill Maher, and I like when someone commented on that video and said, oh yeah, he looks more like Bill Maher, and I thought I can kind of see that, but I don't see it as much as I saw how much he like reminded me of Robert Englund. But again, that's all interpretation, and that's all of a.
We're gonna do a mashup. We're gonna see who close.
Yeah, not right
who's
now.
better.
So someone has that opinion about the stairs. Okay, that's fine.
Just back it up. We're gonna have to find this person. Anybody who thinks the stairs connect those worlds, we're gonna have you on here, or you're gonna have to leave a really long comment and convince me. And I will admit I'm right if you convince me, and I go.
And me too. Yeah. I will backtrack too, but I didn't see that.
It's not a hill I'm dying on. Yeah.
I don't picture Freddy freaking having Monsters Inc. type doors that he can just enter through. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'm not going to die on that hill either way. I thought it was interesting take, and like what you said about New Nightmare.
Those worlds are why you brought it up here. It is an interesting take. I don't think it's stupid, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah, the visuals are awesome. It's to me, it's just Freddy creating an interesting and dynamic dreamscape, and also, I guess we should talk about that. Getting closer to the end of the movie, he's quote unquote not even defeated at the end of this movie. He's just returned to his mother. The whole Amanda Kruger thing in this one, having to play in it, was interesting because she's much younger than the last time we saw her, right? The last actress who played her in part 3, when Neil's talking to the, and so I feel like it's a bit weird. Like she's not being laid to rest. Like her ghost came and helped. Nut cutting time there, as they used to say, right? With Dream Warriors, when the shit was hitting the fan, she kind of told them that the bones need to be laid to rest. So
right.
I don't understand in this movie how she needs to be. Her bones weren't laid to rest, so now we have to go find where she hung herself,
lazy, right?
Or killed herself,
lazy, right?
And find that ghost and just go. And then Yvonne says, hey, you're a ghost. And then she just dissipates. And Freddy's defeated once again. Or not even. And you have one of the weakest endings. If not the weakest ending. I think it is the weakest ending. I'll say it. Weakest ending of the series.
I would agree.
He's not even defeated. And the whole Amanda Kruger thing is a real fucking... you're just kind of giving it the side eye the whole time. Like, okay, this is where they're going, and they give us a little bit more about. They give you some aspects of, Alice as the nun, Alice as Amanda in that room where the deed happened with Amanda Kruger and the 100 Maniacs. So those scenes, I guess, are kind of like backstory, but at the same time, I don't feel like the Amanda part of it really, Freddy's mom, really added much to the story. It just seemed tacked on.
No, it seems so tacked on, and I think she had her moment, like you just said, and like in Dream Warriors, and we didn't need to go back to it. Yes, that was kind of cool. Like they could have added that the scene with Robert Englund where you see him as one of the maniacs. Yeah, that scene could have been there.
Yeah,
but
that scene was fine.
Need the whole we didn't need the whole her bones need to be like all that shit was just like you said, tacked on. Act on and lazy writing and just running out of ideas.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're doing at this point in the series. They're just running out of it. I think that's about it. Once again, I'm going to say this. Yvonne is kind of a bitch. If your friends are all dying,
that's the theme of today's episode. Is Yvonne is just kind of a bitch.
The actress is great, and she seems lovely in everything I've ever seen and read of her. So I'm not spouting vitriol or hatred out into the world.
Yvonne, not the actress. I can't. Yeah, but
Yvonne, that character in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, the fictional film, is kind of a bitch. She's rude to her friends after friends have died, and then goes and chills in a fucking hot tub. She's a bitch. Changed my mind. Anyway.
Bitch.
It's a boy. Any final...
It's a boy.
Don't dream and drive.
I just did that.
Fuck.
That delivery too. That you're trying to make him scarier, and that was a good intro. Where he's scratching with the like it just and then it drives me nuts that's the line. I laughed out loud. Like I honestly had forgotten that was his intro. Is that's what he says. And he says it like that.
It's
and I
so
love Robert Englund.
It'll build up.
He's great as Freddy, but it's just like it boggles my mind that you told me that they wanted to make Freddy scarier in this one, and they have the intro to him say that.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like I think we already kind of covered this, but when he shows up and his like revival in this movie, it is. There's a pretty good build up to it. There's some good moments to it.
There's such a good build up to it. It is so good. It is the build up to him coming back in this movie is really good. And I actually, I didn't take notes, but I took a mental note when I was watching it for the first time. When I tried to rewatch it, I thought, "Holy shit! I forgot how good this build up is."
Yeah, you almost think the rest of the movie.
Oh, boys, because I'd forgotten that line, and that's so stupid. That line is so stupid.
Well, after he shows up, too. Yeah, after they show up, like the glove scraping, iconic. The moment's great.
The glove scraping is, great. It's a throwback to the original, but it is still really cool.
And it's great because you're not even having to show Freddy too much. You're just showing he's back. We know this. We know the sound. We know the visual. It hits us with a little bit nostalgia, and then it just cuts to he's just there the rest of the movie. Like every time he shows up, he's just he doesn't like kind of what we said before. It's kind of cat and mouse with Fred. In this movie, even when he shows up for the other kills, just I'm a motorcycle now, and I'm absorbing you, and I'm a waiter.
Here I am on a skateboard.
Here I am on a Shreddy Krueger. That was so stupid because like there's no even his intro like before he's on the skateboard, right? Mark's in that dream in the warehouse, and Freddy shows up and he hits with that musical cue where it's like he's a classic villain from an old movie, and Freddy does like a little. This is what I'm saying. How is this supposed to be scary again? He does like a little. Takes his hat off as if, okay, we're about to show down, and then he does like a little spin and slash. He cuts one of the boards, like he's like, I'm coming for you, but I'm like just kind of fucking around at the same time. That was like the only time in the movie where I was like, there's a little bit of play before he actually gets him. Whereas, like, once he is revived in this movie, he's just there in every scene. You know what I mean? Like, he just shows up and he's killing you pretty much in whatever way. There's no
there's a build up. There's a build up to it's like Jaws. Like Jaws, you never really see the shark, and then at the end there's that build up where that first scene where you see it.
Yeah.
But this movie, there's that build up for I guess it's like what, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Maybe a bit less, maybe 18, like 15 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes where it's build up. Then it's done effectively, and then it's not done effectively, where it's just like, let's have him be in every scene, and not every scene, but you know what I mean. Like, let's just show the hell out of him, and not keep that mystery of the intro, the build up to having him revived. No, let's just throw that out the window and have him on a skateboard.
And then he's in a truck with the guy pouring wine on him, literally saying like 18 one-liners, and they're not funny.
I guess, oh yeah, they're not funny, and I guess that's just the build-up for part 6.
Yes, this whole movie is a build-up for part 6. This was a nightmare. This whole movie is a build-up for part 6. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. You?
I don't. Other than like that funny kind of memory of mine from childhood that this was my introduction to the Nightmare series, is that the force feeding.
Oh yeah, God, that is horrifying. Actually, that you just saw that late at night, so you wouldn't even really know the context either, right?
Yeah, I don't know how old I was, but that was my introduction to the Nightmare series, and then I didn't watch them for years till I watched the original when I stuck my I've been through this on the previous episode with my introduction to the original. But yeah, this movie part 5 was actually the first one that I saw like scenes from,
and it haunted you for a while. That scene.
Yeah, and then it's funny when you actually go to watch it. Like when I watched it for the first time several years ago now, but then I thought, oh, it ain't very good.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, we try to be as positive as we can, because obviously the people who work on these movies are all talented individuals, but these movies are just we're a factory for making shit, right? Definitely. So at this point, and they're being overworked.
6 could be interesting. I'm looking forward to rewatching 6, because I think I gave it half a star on Letterboxd. So,
oh boy, somebody's gonna come for you. Somebody's gonna come for you in the comments after that one.
I know people have there are those certain people that like 6, and good on you. But
I mean, we'll see how we feel about it. We'll be watching it soon and talking about it.
Absolutely.
If anybody out there is still listening to this at this in these closing moments, hit the like and subscribe button, and we're going to continue doing the series, and all the support is appreciated.
Are we doing Freddy versus Jason? I feel like can't remember if I asked that.
Kind of got to. We'd be disappointing the many listeners out there.
That's true. That is true.
Because what if they want to hear our hot takes or our gabbing, our bantering?
Well, I feel like we should wait on that and do the Friday series, then do Freddy vs. Jason. Maybe after. I don't know. That's
a tough one to do.
It's up to you.
It's tough It's up to you how it fits in the lore, the mythos of those movies, right? Because I'll have to do more research. Because honestly, it's been probably a while. I haven't gone back to that movie very recently, to be honest. So I really can't even say where it makes the most sense to place it.
Maybe once. Yeah.
I remember it being kind of fun, but I was also like 20 years younger at the time. When did that movie come out? 2002.
2002.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was
20. I was
2002.
22 years younger.
August of 2002.
I was a different person back then, so yeah, I guess I'll do a little research and see where it sits in terms of viewing, and then we can kind of go from there. But if anybody out there has been enjoying this, be sure to tell us what you thought about Part 5, The Dream Child. Should Freddy Baby be kept, or did Alice, now it's getting dark again, but I love that Stephen Hopkins quote. Maybe it is pro-abortion. Freddy's your baby, I guess. Yeah, I'm for it too. Yeah. Until next time, folks. Anything from you, sir? Do you have any?
I am good. I am good to sign off until our next one, until our final nightmare, which is not going to be our final nightmare because then we have a new nightmare after that.
Yes, there's a few more nightmares to go.
But I'm excited for our final nightmare, and I'm excited for our new nightmare.
Me too, sir. Me too. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us tonight. Film Club, Brad, and Jon-Erik signing off. Peace out, folks.
Goodbye.